Well, the umbrellas are up here in Valencia on Sunday morning, but not for the same reasons as Saturday morning. This time it's as sunshades and the steaming heat haze. The America's Cup City, which will for next year host for the first time a Formula One Grand Prix around the streets of the centre of the city, has this circuit of the community of Valencia. It's a regular venue on the MotoGP Tour. It's a regular single-seater and motorcycle racing track, and providing the playground for the season finale of the GP2 series for 2007. This is the 21st and final race of the year, and parish notices before we get things underway as we sit with Timo Glock on the grid, ready to engage drive and head off around the green flag lap. Just to mention, in fact not mention, but highlight the fact that after yesterday's race, iSport have now claimed the team's championship, so huge congratulations to them after 2 years of ART domination of the team standings. Unfortunately, it looks like is that Marco Martinez has not got away from the third row of the grid. I think that's the second racing engineering car. Now he has got going, so the yellow flag should stop waving and he will be able to retake his grid position because the entire field had not got past him. But Gareth, just to get back to iSport, they have produced the front-running pair of cars all season long. There's been no question about their pace. If only they could find out where the gremlins are in the truck that they seem to be bringing, the bad luck gremlins, to every single race weekend, then they really would have been in clover.
Yeah, I think most teams have suffered to a point this year with some reliability issues, but certainly iSports had the worst luck of all. But it's great for them, great for the team to actually get a trophy for themselves. Obviously they're going to be winning the driver's title today, or it looks like they're going to win it today, but it's great for the team to win the championship, a great reflection on what they've done. I mean, go back 12-18 months, as you said, and ART was so dominant it was just impossible to imagine that any other team would get even close to them, and they just chipped away, and it would have been very easy for them to take the option that some teams did in the paddock, I hate to say, which is just sort of say, well, ART, they must be cheating. Well, that was nonsense. ART was just doing a fantastic job, and iSport were one of the few who knuckled down and just thought, no, we can catch them, we've got to really apply ourselves, we can catch them, and they have. They've now surpassed them and done a great job, and their reward is the championship.
Well, when you can buy the same bits off the same shelf as every other team, it's not a Formula One situation. You can engineer your way to the front, and that's the secret, I think, there, and that's why it's a combination, really, I think, isn't it? We've seen that with a couple of teams this year. If you get a good star driver that can not only race well but can give you good technical feedback, then that really advances the engineering. I mean, you look at Adam Carroll and the FMS car, suddenly that's a car that can challenge. And again, a couple of quick drivers, somebody like Nakajima and Lapierre at Dams, they've obviously got a combination of brutal speed and some good feedback going into those cars, and Dams are starting to emerge again as the same sort of force that they were, getting towards in their heyday in Formula 3000.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there is a perception in one-make formulas like this that it's the driver that matters most of all. It's not really true. The teams still need to be very professional, very switched on, know what they're doing, have clever people on board, and the driver also has to be very good. So you need both elements in place to do a great job. And I think this year there's no question that iSport have been the best team and Glock has been the best driver.
I think that's absolutely the case, and likely to be proved here today as he takes the third GP2 title. We're slightly counting our chickens before they've hatched, but as the points stand today, Timo Glock with 81 points, Lucas de Grassi with 77. He has got really an enormous mountain to climb. Nothing other than a podium with Glock failing to score will do. Now, of course, Glock has famously enjoyed some pretty rotten luck at the start of races, the low light of which, I suppose, will be collision with his own teammate Andy Zuber when they filled the first row at Magny-Cours and they didn't even get to the first corner. That's the sort of drama that he could really do without here. There's been mechanical problems, grid stalls and all sorts. Well, let's hope we get a clear getaway here. And certainly for the iSport team, start's been aborted. Now they have launched them away very quickly, led by Javier Villa, the racing engineering driver. So Spanish driver, Spanish team on the front row of the grid, pole position. And that's a Dams car, isn't it? Now on the right-hand side, who do we make that?
It might be Alician, actually, in the ART car.
Oh, yes, yes, you're right, absolutely. It's that funny thing on the back wing that I keep thinking is Dams. You're absolutely right, it is Michael Alician. He's had a couple of problems getting World Series by Renault cars off the line this year, and looks like the GP2, it's quite a long and it seems to me, as a layman, unnecessarily complicated system for getting these cars off the line, with all sorts of overrides and stuff which trip the driver up all over the place. Basically, everything has to be absolutely millimetre perfect: revs, clutch bites, brake, everything else. And then you get things at Spa with a sloping grid where the driver's foot is on the brake, and that throws the car and it goes onto one cylinder or stalls, or the anti-stall technology cuts in and stalls it anyway. I mean, it's just too clever for its own good, I think. I think when the new car is developed and brought out after winter, they maybe should look at that and just simplify the system, because time and again we see cars stall. And as you said, Spa was an extreme example, wasn't it, with that slight slope thrown into the mix as well. Yep.
I think we had about 5 or 6 stallers.
Well, it was quicker to list who hadn't stalled almost than who had. So that was really the low point of the clutch problems. And that's again something like the cooling issues they had in the first year that will be addressed with the new car. The new car will be debuted for 2008's European season, Grand Prix supporting season. The GP2 Asia series will use these current cars, and in fact all the current teams, barring the one that's leading the pace lap, barring Racing Engineering, will be competing. They're Rafter sponsors are very much Iberian based and can see absolutely no point in going to race in the Far East at all. So Elysian will now start from the pit lane, it would seem. Michael Elysian ready to start his ART machine from the pit lane. Elysian, one of the number of Red Bull drivers that have cycled in and out of that car this year. Michel Ammermuller and Sebastian Buemi have both had a go at the wheel. And Sebastian Buemi busy elsewhere this weekend. He's Euro Formula 3ing, isn't he?
Yes, yeah, Nogaro. Yeah,
yes,
he can still win the title there, so they decided that was better for him to go there than just do another learning weekend in GP2.
And Elysian on a weekend off from World Series by Renault. They were racing at Manicourt last weekend, 2 final race weekends. In fact, Elysian sort of with a slight punt at the title still, so he's still got a slight chance. It seems to be a very difficult title to win this year, the World Series by Renault title. Out of 13 races, they've had 12 different race winners. So let's try and get this away for a second time, now down to 29 laps after a further formation lap, and another start on the clutches, all of which helps to frustrate the electronics, particularly because quite a lot of it is heat sensor led as well, we understand. I think we're going to have to sit down one day, Gareth, and just bite the bullet and talk to an engineer at length about this system. Well, you can anyway, you need to understand it. Okay, red lights are on for the final time. Very quick change, very slow start from the front row men. Andy Suchek look for the white car, Borja Garcia as well. They're wheel to wheel going into the first corner. Coming down behind them as well is Karen Chundok, doesn't manage to squeeze through, so it's Javi Villa that leads. Timo Glock in second, trying to keep himself safe from... Is that his teammate?
Second, actually. I think Glock is second. I think he got the jump on Villa, didn't he? I think Villa's second.
Oh, it's right, okay. So
leads.
Further back, Lucas Di Grassi, and he is chasing Roldan Rodriguez. No, he's not. He's chasing the number 3 PK Sport car, which is Sandy Negrão. Negrão started in 16th, and Di Grassi in 23rd. Safely through. And again, wheel-to-wheel battling all the way down, both BCN cars. Of course, both Spanish-based, the Barcelona team, and both survived that first lap scramble. It is Glock who leads, the 2 Racing Engineering cars second and third, so it's Javi Villa ahead of teammate Marco Martinez in the thick of it with Di Grassi. Well, it may not have been the greatest start for Sandy Negrão, but certainly you've got to say that Di Grassi is giving it everything he's got on this opening lap. That's the first of 29. He's got to give it everything he's got. He's really got to drive every lap like it's the last lap of the last race and the championship's on the table, because that's exactly the situation he's in.
Well, if he'd done that earlier in the season, he might not be in the position he was in now. So,
no, absolutely.
It's a bit late, I'm afraid.
So Villa leads, Martinez second, Suchek third. Hang on a minute, where's Glock? Oh, sorry, yes, he's gone all pink, and I can't see him, that's right. So it is Glock who leads.
He's gone all pink because that's the colour
that shows up fastest lap of the race.
Yeah.
And, go on, give us a break. That is 10, Jason De Hinchy out on the first lap. So Glock leading from Villa and Martinez, then the white and blue car of Suchek, Garcia the blue and yellow, Pantano, then Petrov. Those are the two white and blue cars, a bit more blue than that white and blue car of Di Grassi. Good start from Di Grassi, 23rd to 15th on lap 1. You can't argue with that, well hopefully the stewards can't argue with that anyway. Let's hope he didn't set off rather too ambitiously. His teammate Alishin right at the tail of the field, of course having started as everybody else went by the end of the pit road. And a gap breaking up between Suchek in 4th and Garcia in 5th. A little bit further back, that is Senna and Carroll. Let's have a look again. See, the front row men caught out, I think, by the lights, Gareth.
Yeah, neither got a great start, did they? But Glock just got the edge and just managed to get back online into turn 1 quite cleanly.
Villa defending heavily against 3 or 4 cars behind, and his teammate Martinez there going around the outside of Garcia.
The ice ball by, always looking pretty happy.
Most of them. Let's ride with Lucas Di Grassi. Look at the tyre smoke in front.
Great start, wasn't it? Absolutely corking start. Picking his way through the gaps.
Let's see it open up. He's going, go right, go right, go right, go right. Damn you, you didn't go right enough. No, good start. Made up 6 places off the grid. That was very quick indeed. Mike Conway. Jason DeHinchy losing it right in front of Conway. First lap, cold tyres and just not enough grip there for what he was asking. Got in a little hot and it wasn't coming round the corner for him.
Never nice when a car loses it in front of you like that. The rule is generally aim for the car, because by the time you get there, it's gone.
Well, it broke away so suddenly in front of Conway. Conway had no option at all. There was no time to take any avoiding action. Now Di Grassi behind Andy Zuber. Good for Glock, bad for Di Grassi, I'm afraid. I don't think Zuber is going to be the easiest man to pass, given who's right behind him and who's leading the race. Well, we said yesterday that the one thing that Timo Glock would love to do, I'm sure, be to win the final race of the season, stand on the top of the podium to take the title. Out of the turn 11 gravel trap, is that Martinez. Yes, Villa's gone across the line in 2nd, Suchek in 3rd. Martinez plummets down the order. Di Grassi won't be far behind him either, and Martinez will be thrown out gravel like a machine gun behind him, and plenty of muck on his tyres as well will make him very nervous through these first couple of corners. And that's Garcia. And that, I'm afraid, was Martinez getting tangled up. So where had he come across the line? Somewhere down, just out of the top 10.
Yeah.
Looks as though he's lost the engine. Well, that's the sensible thing to do there, is to push him, hopefully quickly enough to allow him to get a bit of bite and get it rolling again. Good job, boys, well done. Well, Martinez, the innocent party on the outside in an inter-Nissan rivalry. Not quite inter-Nissan, but the man who eventually made contact was Sandy Negrão. But it was Chandok? Yes, Chandok, who was inside Negrão. And the Indian driver, buoyed up by his successes last time out, I'm afraid not quite negotiating that one correctly.
I think if Zuber can keep Di Grassi behind him for 4 or 5 laps now, he'll just blunt the momentum that Di Grassi picked up from the first lap or 2.
And I'm afraid that is probably going to be the way it is. I mean, they picked up 1 place because of Martinez being taken out, but other than that, no real change. Glock across the line again, fastest race lap. He's going quicker and quicker, as you would expect. And further back, that is Alishin. Diving down the inside of him, Sergio Hernandez. Hernandez on a weekend off from World Touring Car duties. He was at Brands Hatch last weekend for Roberto Ravaglia's BMW Italia Spain outfit. And that's it. Gareth, we were talking just before the race began about where some of these guys will end up, because there are so few Formula 1 seats, not very many Champ Car seats, IRL. I mean, Nippon, where else can you go as a top single-seater driver when you've really done your time in GP2 or World Series? And Hernandez seems to be looking at other avenues of opportunity, as combining a bit of GP2 with some touring cars, or with a full season of World Touring Cars.
Yeah, it's very hard, isn't it? I mean, it's always been a problem. You know, it really is. You get to that level where you want to go to F1. There's so few opportunities in F1. Only a handful of drivers leave F1 each year. To be honest, I don't know that many drivers in GP2 this year deserve an F1 chance. Glock certainly does, but beyond that, I'm not convinced as many that do. So I think you're right. I think World Touring Cars or IRL or something like that is probably where these guys might end up.
I think we'll probably see quite a few of them in sports cars over the next few years as well. That seems to be still a fairly healthy driver market. But you're right, I mean, although this year it's that sort of once-in-a-decade era where we may well see a fair degree of culling in the Formula One driver ranks, still there's a huge queue of potential hopefuls who are already lining their places up. Timo Glock, our race leader, still pulling away from Javier Villa in second place. Andy Soucek in third, Borja Garcia in fourth. Then Giorgio Pantano right behind Garcia, yesterday's winner Vitaly Petrov. And behind him, Luca Filippi, Kazuki Nakajima, Mike Conway. Then Felipe Albuquerque, Ho Pin Tung. And then Andy Zuber holding up Lucas Di Grassi 12th and 13th. And I don't particularly think there's anything untoward about Zuber holding off Di Grassi. I mean, he would likely be able to do the same thing if he was first and Di Grassi was second.
Yeah, no question. I mean, Valencia is a hard place to overtake. We saw that yesterday. And, yeah, Zuber was quick. Again, he was fast in the race yesterday. He's got a good setup. And there's an obligation for him to let Di Grassi by. So he'll be doing a good sort of teammate's job and just hold him up and keep him in place. He's now 13.5 seconds from Glock, Di Grassi, so a lot of ground to make up.
Huge amount of ground, even on an empty track. It'll take you 29 laps to get up 13 seconds, just about, even if the driver in front was not really on the pace, because that's a huge amount per lap to take out of the race leader. Glock, for the first time, not setting the fastest lap of the race. He's just feathered it back a little bit. 1:23.1 his last lap. Behind him, quickest man is Javi Villa, 1:22.5. Villa trying to close the gap to the leader. As we said, Villa with an unblemished winning record from front row sprint race starts so far this season. And Glock would be obviously very happy to break that streak for him. But the young Spanish driver in the racing engineering team really coming of age this year. And again, it's interesting, you know, where he might go. He's so young, he could still easily do a third year in GP2. And actually, I think last year you would have to consider for Villa as very much in at the deep end, so that he really didn't learn and progress much. This year, lot of progress being made. This is almost his first year. Next year, if he returns with racing engineering, I think he might well be a championship hopeful.
I think he has to be. I mean, I think the position he's in now is slightly awkward for him. Like you said, he's very young. He's got 2 years of GP2 under his belt. I think next year he has to step up a level in terms of his performance. He's not really been a great qualifier. He needs to find more just raw pace to get up the grid for feature races. So far, most of his great performances have been in a sprint race, and he's benefited from the kind of reverse grid policy. He needs to be getting on the pace on a Friday afternoon for qualifying.
3 race wins and a second place so far this season in sprint races have been the highlights of his year.
I think he's got pace. He has got pace, but again, I do wonder whether he's a good example of a young driver who's been progressed too quickly. I think when he did Spanish F3, I think the logical step for him from there probably would have been to perhaps to come to British F3 or the European F3 series. It's a step up in competitiveness, but still, you know, it's. I think if you get to GP2 too early, he's going to be spending a third year in GP2, and if you spend too long at a given level, you start to, you don't stagnate, but you get perceived as someone who's stagnating, you know, like Pantano, for example, been at this level for so long, he doesn't ever really get seriously considered for an F1 seat. And I think the danger is if you get to a level too soon, like Villa has, you get a reputation for being someone who's just there and is there perpetually.
Just watching Andy Zuber there, looks like he was having a little bit of trouble with the car in the last lap or so, just pushing it a little harder perhaps than you might expect, but he's still got Di Grassi behind him, and I'm sure he's feeling the pressure. For him, it's only a midfield battle and they're a long way from the points, but on the other hand, it's a bit of personal pride not to be pressured into being passed by Di Grassi, even for 12th place. Let's see how he continues. Glock still leading from Villa by 1.1 seconds. The gap remains pretty much unchanged. Andy Soucek third, Borja Garcia fourth, and Pantano, Petrov and the rest. And there is Di Grassi. And again, although everything is pretty stationary at the moment in terms of moves up and down the order, you can see there Di Grassi running out just over the curbs, kicking up the dirt and a little bit of gravel. Really how hard these guys are pushing. And Gareth, to my mind, Tung in front is going to be a bit of a problem for Zuber, because Tung is now starting to slow down. He is not going as quickly as he was or as they have been, and in fact he is going to be holding Zuber up, and that gives de Grassi a little bit of cause for thought, and perhaps a chance to take advantage of Zuber getting held up.
Yeah, I think it's Tung, and also in front of him Albuquerque, who's going pretty slow as well. I mean, the front-running guys, the top 10, top 9 are lapping low 23s, and suddenly you get to Albuquerque and Tung in 10th and 11th, and they're high 23s. And certainly they're going to be holding Zuber and de Grassi and all the guys behind it.
Yeah, Albuquerque pulling away. He was 0.9 ahead of Tung on the last lap, and that's more like 1.5 seconds now. So I think maybe the Chinese driver has made a mistake on the last lap. Yes. So Alishин diving down the inside of Bakarud into a hole that was never there into turn 4, and just clatters the Dane out of the race. Gareth, to me that looked pretty ham-fisted, I'm afraid.
Oh yeah, it was very clumsy, wasn't it? And as you said, pretty much sums up Backwards season to date. It's one to forget about altogether and start fresh next year.
I have to say, just slightly sums up Alishин's season as well, I'm afraid, for me. Is occasionally quick enough, but much more often seems to be a magnet for trouble, and that's... You know, that's something you really got to try and work hard to avoid. Luca Filippi, now we spent a lot of time in yesterday's main race watching Luca Filippi drop positions. He was one of the very first to stop after it was wet on the grid yesterday. There was half a dozen, no more, probably I think only 5 cars started on slick tyres, all the rest on wets, but immediately on the first lap the slick tyred 4 or 5 cars just shot through the field right to the front, apart from Roldan Rodriguez, who got lost and took a shortcut and missed out half the lap and seemed to be leading, but only by not having completed the full lap. And then everybody else stopped for wet weather tyres, changed to slicks at some stage or another. And Filippi stopped so early, didn't he, that by the end, or 10 laps from the end, he was just surrendering positions because he was struggling to keep the car on the road.
Yeah, bizarrely, the Supernova press release said that his fuel pump failed, which is why he retired. Now, he actually ended up dumping in the gravel, so I'm not quite sure how that stacks up. But he was quick in the warm-up this morning. He was second quickest behind Lafayette, so I'm sure he has got good pace when the tyres are working for him.
Yeah. Now, I was actually thinking a little earlier on, we've got 18 laps to go, but 30 laps of the race was quite a big call on the tyres yesterday. After, you know, those who had stopped sort of before half distance were all struggling for grip. So I think we're going to see some cars struggling for grip before the end. All too late, I fear, for de Grassi.
No, I think you're right. I think because obviously the ambient temperature today is much warmer than yesterday. It was very cool yesterday. The track was a little bit slippy. So I think you're right. I think it will be an issue, but certainly for Glock at the front, he looks pretty serene. I think he's being conservative as he was yesterday. He's not really out there ragging it, is he? He's keeping Veer at just arm's length and just looks pretty comfortable. Yeah,
if Veer was all over the back of him, Glock would find another half a second, possibly a little bit more. But if he doesn't need to, it's the old adage, isn't it? You have to win the race at the slowest speed possible. You know, the bizarre thing about motor racing, everybody thinks it's about speed. In fact, it's about going as slowly as you possibly dare, because, well, realistically, because that makes it safer and better on the car.
Exactly right. It's easier on the car, and also easier on the driver, and you know, they have had misfortune this year with mechanical failures, so why put extra strain on the car when you can just coast it home?
Well, there are two ways of looking at that, aren't you? You know, it's when you're running low on fuel on the motorway. What do? Go as hard as you can at 90 miles an hour to try and get as close to the petrol station before you run out, or go at 60 in the hope that the economy will be better and you don't run out. I have to say, I'm always going quickly and then hoping it's not raining when I have to walk. That's probably why I'm in the commentary box and not in the cockpit, among many other reasons. Lack of talent, lack of motivation, many more. Ho Pin Tung then in the red car, holding off Zuber and de Grassi, and that is 11th, 12th and 13th. Chunduk and Senna further back behind them, and you were just seeing Carroll and Rodriguez coming across the line a little further back, quite close together. De Grassi's view doesn't really make for edifying viewing, I'm afraid. And again, look at the hands working hard there. I mean, the driver, even at this stage, not even at mid-distance, is starting or is continually feeling the car moving around on him, something you really don't see in a Formula 1 car at all.
You don't, and it's a shame. I mean, certainly when these cars are being pushed hard, they are up on their toes. They do move around quite a bit, and coming off that turn there, Di Grassi just put just too much power in, just too soon. And the back end just got away from him very slightly, but certainly that's nothing compared to what we saw yesterday with Philippi, who all over the shop, the poor bloke.
Poor soul, it looked like he had remolds on or something. It really did look like he had 2 CV tyres on the car, trying to get 450 horsepower through them onto the track. They were really struggling. But again, I noticed from Di Grassi, not only is the back stepping out, but having to take another bite at the steering to get it turned in as well. That partly in effect, I suppose, from running so close behind Andy Zuber and just losing a little bit of that front end bite that you expect to get from the wing.
Yeah, certainly, although Valencia is only sort of medium speed corners, I mean, aerodynamics generally kick in about 75 miles per hour, so he's going more than quick enough to be affected by the car in front of him being so close, that's for sure.
Well, Tung just easing away now from Zuber, and there you can see Bruno Senna. He's had a bit of a forgettable weekend as well, and I think that Senna would be pretty much looking towards the second season of GP2. I would imagine that would be the most obvious thing for him. Well,
there's a big test next week at Jerez, isn't there? There's a 2-day test for the GP2 teams, and I think Senna is rumoured to be testing with iSport, as is Adam Carroll. Adam's also going to be testing the Minardi PK Sports car as well. So you'll see various drivers, now the season's finished, contracts are ended, they'll be hopping from car to car and trying to do deals for the next season, those who want to stay in the category. And also you get guys moving up from F3 Euro Series or moving across from World Series by Renault. So you'll see a bit of seat hopping next week at Jerez.
Yeah, I wonder if anybody's going to get like Senna. Is he going to get into the iSport car and go, oh, eureka, so now I know what these things are supposed to feel like?
Yeah.
Is it possible to have that much difference, do you think, between two cars that are, ostensibly so similar?
Definitely. I mean, not necessarily in Senna's case. I mean, we have seen him be quick this year. He suffered from inconsistency rather than lack of pace. But I think that a real, Di Grassi with a huge...
That's a monster last corner lock-up, isn't it?
Yeah, that's not going to help, is it? But we saw, I mean, a real case in point is Glock. He was with BCN competition up until the midpoint of last year, and then he left there and joined iSport, and he basically went from qualifying at the back to qualifying on pole position in the space of one race, because there was such a superiority in the iSport car compared to the BCN car. And I think that's what will happen. I think there will come, drivers next week will get into cars that have been competitive when they're used to a back of the grid car, and they will feel a huge difference.
Interesting, isn't it? I mean, you don't, as a sort of layman, you don't imagine there can be yawning gulfs between cars that all roll off the same factory floor, in the same spec.
That's right. I mean, I've experienced it myself. I've been in good cars and then jumped into a bad car or vice versa. But I mean, a case in point is a team I drove for didn't have a lot of money, didn't do a great job with the little money they had. Then I got a chance to drive a very competitive car. I'm not going to name any names while we're on air. But the competitive car, for example, the team I was driving, who produced a good car, they used to rebuild their dampers after every single event, whether it be a test or a race weekend, and that made a big difference. In a one-make category where the cars are very close and the times are very tight, every little bit you can do to make a difference, it does count. And rebuilding the dampers and making sure everything's working exactly as it should do, and checking makes a difference.
Great pictures from Timo Glock around the first couple of corners here at Valencia, leading comfortably by nearly 2 seconds. Ho Pin Tung in the red BCN car, still in 11th place, and Felipe Albuquerque now 4 seconds away up the road. Tung also starting to struggle a little bit under braking into turn 2 there with the tyres. We saw Lucas Di Grassi into the long sloping downhill, tightening turn 11. An awful last corner. It's downhill, it feels off camber because you're braking all the way through this long left-hander, and it just tightens up and then leads onto the only straight of any consequence. It's a really nightmare corner.
Yes, it is difficult. It reminds me actually slightly of the Magny-Cours infield section, where you approach the left-hand hairpin very quickly, and the car is heavily loaded up on the right because you go around the left-hand corner, and then you have to brake very hard to get the car slowed down, and it's very difficult to stop that inside left, just not lifting, but it does go slightly light, and therefore it locks very, very easily, and we've seen Di Grassi do it a couple of times. Once it happens once, as you said before, it'll happen time and again.
Yeah, it just finds its flat spot again. Now Zuber, of course, in the same car as the race leader, Timo Glock. Timo Glock's last lap, 1:23.48. Zuber's last lap, 1:24.06. So quite some margin between them. And is that a reflection of the fact that Glock's in clear air and with nothing to worry about, and Zuba's being harassed front, rear and centre, or...?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Zuba clearly, Tung is in his way. There's no doubt about that. And in the infield section, you can see he's right up with him, just can't get past. Interesting comparison with the way Degrassi handled Tung, another big lockup from Tung. Handled Degrassi, how Degrassi handled Tung at Spa. I mean, he was happy to sort of sit in behind, wasn't he? Whereas at least Zuba's monstering him. He's looking for a way past and hassling and pressuring and trying to force the guy into a mistake.
Yeah, definitely. Zuba's trying to force the issue, and that's why we're seeing Tung locking up, but nonetheless it's making them all slower in it. I mean, this is really just crucifying even the slenderest hopes that Lucas Degrassi might have had of walking away with this title.
Yeah, his gap to Glock now is almost 24 seconds, so with 13 laps left.
Senna having a little look, couldn't squeeze inside Karen Chondok there, but good to see some enterprising attempts anyway. And there are 2 or 3 places on the track where you can just about leverage a little bit of alongside space, and round the back there is one of them. It's turn 7 and 8, and then the little left-right flick here. If you can get a good run out of here, which is not that easy when you're following somebody, because that's one of the sort of quick direction changes, and you tend to lose the front a little bit. And you can get a good run down here onto the straight, but Senna losing ground there after that lunge. Glock still comfortably out front. Javi Villa in second place, 2 seconds exactly behind on the last lap. Borja Garcia another 2.3 behind, so he's in third. Pantano fourth.
Yeah, Campos' 1-2 yesterday also was significant because it moved them up to third in the team's championship ahead of Supernova. And the way it stands at the moment, both their drivers are ahead of both Supernova drivers, so as it stands they're going to take third in the team's championship, so really good job from them.
What did we see happening to Andy Soucek? We didn't, did we?
We didn't see anything. We saw his teammate get taken off.
Yeah, Soucek is now shown as 22nd. Those of you at home that spotted it and were busy yelling at the TV, Martin, stop rambling, as I was looking at some very interesting statistics, obviously somewhere. Just, you know, text in and let us know what happened to him. Because he was in third place. So
he's shown in third place again. All of a sudden,
oh yes, rather mystifyingly, he's no longer 22nd. On the second split, he's now in third place. All right, okay.
Technology, so wonderful.
Timing glitch. I was just looking that. I know, Borja Garcia. Hang on a minute, where's Soucek? And he vanished from the screen. He's back. Okay, so cancel those postcards. Nothing happened to him at all. Right, those of you in timing and scoring, however, at the circuit who would like to... Oh, let us know. Oh dear, last corner catches him out. And there's quite a few off there at turn 11 in this morning's warm-up. And you can see the little black patch going round as the tyre goes round. That's where the flat spot still is, and that's how flat it is. It hasn't even attracted any dust. As he comes back on, Senna's already at the end of the pit straight, and going by him. Well, everybody. Ooh! And this battle's still continuing. Hirate again past Sandy Negrão, and Negrão tries. This time you see Hirate's not going to be done back on the inside into turn 2. I've seen that before, so I'll guard that. If Negrão was as good at attacking before he got overtaken as he is after he's been overtaken, things would be a lot better for him. He's got Sergio Hernandez right behind now, and then Michael Alishin as well. Alishin on the back of this little group, and this is 19, 20, 21, 22. Marky Martinez still going 23rd. Nicolas Lapierre, the fastest man in the warm-up this morning, still going in 24th place. So, again, the one-lap pace that Lapierre has shown on occasion this year, not really helping him much.
Well, I think he really hasn't been racing, has he? If you look at his lap times, he's been basically doing fast, slow, fast, slow. I think he's trying to go for the fastest lap point, isn't he? I mean, realising that starting from right at the back, he basically got taken out by Degrassi yesterday. Yeah, Petrov running wide from a point-scoring position. Yeah, out of 8th place. Yeah. Yesterday's race winner. And that's certainly going to be the high point, not that, yesterday's race win, certainly going to be the high point of his season. And for the team as well, 1-2. And in the closing stages, actually, I thought they did really well to hang on to that, particularly Pantano, really pushing Petrov very hard indeed. But Petrov, doing just enough to hang on. Well, that's significant again for the team's championship, because Campos are on 78 points and Supernova on 77. Now, Petrov has just dropped out the points down to 8th. Which pushes Philippi the Supernova driver, up into a point-scoring position, one place behind Pantano. So the scrap for 5th and 6th, although it's 4 seconds apart, is significant because it decides who gets 3rd place in the Teams Championship.
Yes, it's all a little bit of pride and prestige, and it's funny how it can come down to 1 point after so many over a course of 21 race series. Of course, this is our 11th race weekend, but at Monaco, just the 1 race, and that's why we have an odd number. That's why we're on race number 65 of the GP2 Championship over its 3-year history. And last year's champion, Lewis Hamilton, again enjoying, well, some very topsy-turvy racing in foul conditions. For those of you that haven't seen the race at Fuji, if you're going to watch the highlights later, hi Ernie, then I won't spoil it for you, but it was another very bizarre wet race. They really have got to introduce sprinkler systems on some of the Formula 1 tracks. But, you know, Hungary with sprinkler system, that'd be fine. There'd be overtaking and accidents everywhere. Everybody would tune in to watch. They wouldn't be going, oh, it's going to be boring. But,
might upset the purists, that one, I think, Martin.
I know. Well, do you know what? If the purists aren't mortally offended by just the look of the current Formula 1 car, then they're not racing purists. They're engineers. Timo Glock still leading comfortably from Javier Villa. 2-second gap now up to 3.5, and that is the 2nd BCN car, isn't it? That's No, who is?
Niemöller and Chandok, possibly?
Yes, could well be, yes. I was going to say Yamamoto, I mean, it has Niemöller and Chandok.
They were in 17th and 18th,
yes. And Chandok having recovered from 1 trip in the gravel. And judging by the way that he went off before, wouldn't be at all all right, I say wouldn't be at all surprised to find out that he locked up under braking.
Oh,
my word! Now, it's not often you take somebody off with your gearbox. Not when you're coming in from behind.
He got that completely wrong. Just arrived way too quick, didn't he?
See, I think he flicked on the handbrake just a shade too early there to hold that slide,
Just arrived too quick, hit the brakes way too hard, locked the rears up, and around she went.
See, a winter with Tom Coronel at his drifting school would, I think, would work wonders there. Meanwhile, with Timo Glock, strange onboard sound coming from somebody else's car, I'm thinking there. I suddenly thought, hello, that's the leader's engine going very, very off there. Yes, I think that was coming from somebody else's onboard microphone, maybe De Grassi somewhere around the lap, because it certainly didn't sound right for Glock. 4.3 seconds ahead of Veer, and in fact he's really pushing very hard in the last 3 or 4 laps. 3 laps ago it was 2 seconds. He's now more than doubled that. He's pulled out 2.3 seconds in the last 2.5 laps, and pushing very hard indeed. He's 7/10 quicker than Veer on the last lap, and obviously determined now to just push a little bit more. Who knows, maybe get the final point for fastest lap as well. Not sure exactly who has got fastest lap. Certainly he had several at the beginning when he was down in the 23s, and he's edging down towards that sort of pace again. Maybe he just wants to clear up as many as he can.
Yeah, one up, great style, had a clean sweep. That would be fitting, wouldn't it? Really, he's been head and shoulders this year. So
Giorgio Pantano just ahead of Luca Filippi by, well, in fact, not just ahead, 4 seconds there. And then here's the group behind with our other championship challenger. Tung, the red car, the blue and red car is Zuber, then De Grassi, the predominantly white car. And De Grassi in 2nd place, now really fading a little bit, I'm afraid, behind Andy Zuber. No chance of any progress, and unfortunately unlucky 13th is as high as he's going to get, I think, in the race, unless somebody makes a bit of a fist of it further up. And worse than that for De Grassi, Senna, having survived Chandok, is closing in quite quickly from behind, so the Arden driver looking to move up another position. And again, let's see De Grassi having 2 bites of the cherry at getting that round.
He's dropped a long way away, isn't he? Now he's, as you said, feeling the pressure from Senna, I think. Kind of appropriate that his race should be blunted by an ice sport car, isn't it? Spend the afternoon, the morning rather, looking at the ice sport back wing.
Yeah, absolutely. 22 laps completed, they're on lap 23, and now I think anybody who's been working hard, and certainly in the early few laps De Grassi was trying to push hard, I think he might find himself struggling a little bit for tyres. And although Senna's sort of picked a few places up along the order, he hasn't really been stuck behind anybody for quite that long. And again, De Grassi, that long trailing left front wheel locking up down the hill. Senna will see that, smell that as he goes through it, and just close in a little more, feeling a little bit happier with himself that he's perhaps got a chance. Zuber again pushing at Tung at the end of the straight, but nowhere near close enough.
Oh, Senna's run wide.
Yes, I did think as he bobbled there, as he got off the brakes and started to turn in, he might be in trouble there. Just closing it a little too hard there, a little rubbing his hands with glee a little too much, perhaps.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's got too overexcited. He clumped the apex just a bit hard and is ran wide on the exit.
Quite a difficult corner, actually, because it's a bit flat and featureless. I mean, you've got the end of the pit wall and everything, but it's, it's certainly not really the easiest corner to see your way around. It does have the big problem of being at the end of the straight as well. Looking back, just the front locked up just at the apex there and grabbed, and he was going off, and that's the bobble, that little snap of the wrist to sort it all out, and again having to modulate it all on the brakes and drag it back onto terra firma. So Di Grassi gets 2 or 3 laps grace from that, I would think, and that will probably see him through almost to the end of the race. Vitaly Petrov, yesterday's race winner, 8th place now. Kazuki Nakajima's his target, a long way in front. And then behind them, Mike Conway 9th, Felipe Albuquerque in 10th place. So there is Luca Filippi. This will be good news for one of our teams at least. If Luca Filippi gets jumped by Nakajima, they'll push the Supernova driver out of the points, and that will further clarify the battle for 3rd place. Oh, look at Nakajima on a nice slide out there over the curbs.
As you said before, 30 laps on these tyres is a lot to ask, really. So now's the time we're going to see cars sliding around quite a bit. Nakajima usually does anyway. He's quite an aggressive little driver, so even more so for him.
Yeah, see, that's what we want in Formula 1 cars. We want them to have no tyre changes during the race, so they're all skating around at the end of the race. No tyre changes, no fuel stops. Stick them on the track and make them race. So on lap 25, and Nakajima is pushing to get himself into the points for the final time. Now, is that going to affect where he is regard Pantano? No, he's a long way behind, 13 points behind Pantano in the series, so that's not going to make a difference. Timo Glock looks like he is now 4 laps from becoming the GP2 champion, the 3rd GP2 series winner. Lucas Di Grassi in 2nd place, can't be caught by Luca Filippi or anybody else. But Filippi and Pantano, 58 and 57 points for 3rd place coming into this. And at the moment, Pantano getting 2 for 5th and Filippi getting 1 for 6th. So Pantano's team will go, come on, to Nakajima, get on with it, son.
Yeah, that was doubly galling that Petrov should make the mistake a few laps ago and go off, because that would have, before that, Pantano definitely would have taken the place from Filippi for 3rd place in the championship. As it is, they're going to be equal, aren't they, on points?
They're going to have
59 each.
No, Pantano will get it on the on tie-break because he's had 2 race wins.
Yes, he will do.
Compared to the 1 of Luca Filippi. So, yeah, after all of that, he has to beat him, Filippi. So, in fact, he has to pass him effectively in this race. So there's the all-Spanish battle for the podium as we get into the closing stages. Andy Suchek for DPR scored their first podium at Spa, and boy was he happy with that. Probably not quite as happy as Pricey, but I would venture fairly close in the headache stakes. And then Borja Garcia right behind him for 4th place, or in 4th place, looking for 3rd. And then behind Pantano, this battle, Filippi and Nakajima. And again, I sense that Filippi may start really struggling here. Nakajima doesn't look particularly like the car's got a lot more mechanical grip, but it looks like it's bothering him a lot less than it's bothering Filippi.
Yeah, Filippi took a much tighter line into the last turn there, didn't he? Very defensive. Nakajima's definitely lining him up.
Well, now again, because Filippi's defending hard, Nakajima suddenly closed. He's all over him, into Chandok's tyre. Like a bit of grip there on that rubber. And good savvy.
Chandok spun.
Yeah, good savvy thinking, though, having a look everywhere he can. And, of course, that puts the pressure on as well. And maybe the place the pressure will tell most is down into the final corner, turn 11. If he can really push a big mistake out of Filippi, then he might be on for making a pass at the end of the straight. Nakajima again, you see, steering it with the throttle, got the nose in at the apex and then squirted it round. Yeah, Nakajima much quicker into this turn, isn't he? He is. He's got more under braking, and he's not losing anything really off the corners either. Of course, Felipe gets onto the throttle a little quicker, so he starts off the corners quicker, but he just can't shake the Japanese at all. And Nakajima not even slightly phased. It's almost like he's sort of come from dirt track racing or something as a motorcycle race. He doesn't mind how much the back end's moving around. He just gets the front end nailed on the apex and drives it through. So onto the straight they come. And I think Felipe's in big trouble here.
Yeah.
I think he was close enough, Nakajima. Maybe not to have a lunge at turn 1, but if he can ride the bucking bronco of turn 1 through to turn 2, loses a little bit too much ground, I think, yeah. Just having perhaps to ease off the throttle a fraction more than he really wanted through there, or brake just a whisker harder because of that closeness to the car in front.
Yeah, it's so infuriating. If they put a hairpin down at turn 1, then we'd see an awful lot more overtaken than we have.
Penultimate lap of the season. Timo Glock leads by 6.6 seconds now from Javier Villa. This is Lucas de Grassi still stuck in 13th behind Andy Zuber and Ho Pin Tung. And the battle for third across the line. Andy Suchek had it by 0.7 of a second from Borja Garcia. So an all-Spanish battle for the final podium spot of the year. And Garcia currently tied on points with Pastor Maldonado, will move past him whatever, up into 7th or 8th or something, or 9th possibly in the championship, but it's another move up anyway. I'm sure Suchek will fight tooth and nail to hold off Garcia. Both of them have got different records here. Both raced quite a lot in Spanish Formula 3 here. Garcia, also in World Series by Nissan and World Series by Renault, has won at Valencia every year he's raced here up until now, so that run has finished. And Andy Suchek has never won at Valencia, so that run will continue unless there's some cataclysm in scrutineering after the race. Felipe with Nakajima, this is the battle for 6th and the final point of the year. But I want to see, as they're on the last lap, what the gap is between Suchek and Garcia. Half a second at the line, so at least as close as that. Nakajima again just burning what rubber remains on his Bridgestone tyres as he fires the car off the corner. With Timo Glock halfway round the lap now.
Again, the wrong...
slightly different engine note, I think, from de Grassi, yeah. De Grassi somewhere between turn 3 and 4 probably by the sound of it, whereas we're starting to climb into the final corner now, out of that little dipping turn 10 and then sweeping down into turn 11, the last corner of 2007's GP2 series. And as he comes to the checkered flag, victory with fastest lap and the championship for Timo Glock, a resounding success for him. Javi Villa will take second place. In third place, Andy Suchek for DPR, just as thrilled with his podium the second time round. Borja Garcia in 4th. Pantano crosses the line in 5th. Felipe just ahead of Nakajima, 6th and 7th. And Vitaly Petrov, yesterday's race winner, in 8th place, where he started the race. Mike Conway, 9th, Felipe Albuquerque 10th, then Ho Pin Tung, Andy Zuber, Lucas de Grassi, just holding off Bruno Senna at the end. But it's victory in the race and in the championship. Timo Glock is the GP2 Series champion for 2007. Well, celebration time starts here for the Timo Glock fan club, undoubtedly, and for Timo himself. iSport yesterday finally clinching the team's prize, and Timo Glock wins the driver's crown. And Gareth Rees, in the last 2 seasons, we've seen ART win the team's championship and Nico Rosberg and then Lewis Hamilton winning the driver's crown. And again this year, the man who seemed to be the quickest in the car that seemed to be the quickest has ended up at the top of the pile.
Yeah, I think it's entirely fitting, isn't it, that he wins in such dominant fashion today, because he's been pretty dominant this year, and the championship points don't reflect that really with the way things have panned out with bad luck. But great performance. But it's not just iSport that have pulled their socks up. You know, we've had Supernova have got back towards the front. Dams are up there. We have one or two others have sort of flitted in and out, but I think everyone has really responded to the challenge ART threw down, and it's better for it. It's closer for it.
Absolutely right, and it sets out, as you said, an intriguing winter of testing and contract negotiating, and of course the Asian Series coming up in the beginning of 2008 before we return to Europe, and the beginning of the 2008 GP2 Series. Its fourth year of competition will be with the brand new Phase 2 car, so it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out during testing, and again how the teams get to grips with its little anomalies and the vagaries. Your setup sheets will give you a pretty good idea what to expect next year, but again it's going to be the engineering and the driver input that's going to be making the difference, and who knows, we may see other teams stepping up to challenge the forerunners or the front runners of the last couple of seasons. Timo Glock looking like he's just finished a stage on the Rally Wales GB, picking up as much muck on the tyres as he possibly could to make sure that there's no problem with the car, or as little chance of the problem with the car being underweight as he possibly can. And he will come into Parc Fermé to celebrate with the team. Gareth, really the culmination of everything they've worked for at iSport. They've worked very hard building the team from basically a standing start with this series, and have ended their third season with not only their driver winning the driver's title, but taking the team's crown themselves. And I think they've just sent Timo Glock into the wrong Parc Fermé. I know that was Andy Zhu, but here comes Glock then.
No, it's thoroughly deserved. I know how hard they've worked to achieve this. I was chatting with Richard Selwyn from iSport last night, who is Timo's engineer, and you know, I think as much as they enjoy the moment, I think relief is also the major emotion that sweeps over them. It's been such a long, hard slog, and it has been made difficult for them by the bad luck they've had, and unnecessarily so. So I think both for Timo and for the team, it's relief as much as you know, joy.
I think so, because with the season they've had so far, there's always been the suspicion that something, no matter how bizarre, could take it away from them. Waving to the camera, and there's the pose that will be on the front pages or on the back pages of the newspapers. 2007 Teams Champions, iSport. 2007 Drivers Champion, iSport's Timo Glock, and a very well-deserved title, as you say. Yes, the party started about 2.5 minutes ago for some of those guys, and will probably continue into check-in tomorrow morning. I hope they've all got lifts on the way back from the airport. Javi Veer and Andy Suchek there, Suchek the taller of the two, offering their congratulations to the champion. And Veer and Suchek, two guys I could see racing in GP2 next year, and I could see both of them having a challenge for the title. They're the 2005 and 2004-2005 Spanish Formula 3 champions, and both of them really now having ended their season much better than it started out, I think would be in a prime position to consider themselves as series hopefuls. You also saw Giorgio Pantano offering his congratulations, and after 7 years at this level, where's Pantano going to be next year? I mean, you've got to say that, you know, for any team that can persuade him to sign a deal, he's got to be a real bonus to have on board.
Yeah, I mean, you know, whilst he's still getting paid, and he is, to race in GP2, then he's making a good living from it. I mean, he could go to World Touring Cars, he could go to America, but whether he get paid any more than he is doing what he does in GP2, who knows?
No, that's a very valid point, you know, and yes, I mean, the only thing you would do to, you know, going to Champ Car or IRL or anywhere else is to move up to a professional series where you're not having to bring all your own funding with you, and he's already in a professional series Precisely. At the moment where he's not having to bring all his own funding, so yeah, he's pretty much where he needs to be, isn't he? So.
Yeah, I mean, you know, years gone by, drivers would go to Japan, to Formula Nippon.
Yep.
They'd leave because, you know, European 3000 wasn't paid. They'd go to Japan, but now they can earn money over here in GP2.
And still many of them do go to Japan. In fact, there's a whole cadre of ex-Formula 3 drivers from, particularly from the British series, who have moved on into Nippon and are still racing in Formula Nippon and Super GT. And yeah, that's a busy season they've got there. So the end of a long year for Timo Glock, and yeah, judging by his face, just a degree of satisfaction and relief there. Will Buxton, GP2 series press officer, enjoying a bit of sunshine there for the final day of the season as well, before we get into the madness of winter testing and all of the other stuff. And then off to the Asian series. So like everybody else, it's going to be a quick turnaround. Some of these teams will be not even going home or thinking of going home for another week or so. So our champion comes out onto the podium. Well, it's been a roller coaster ride, some huge successes and some really phenomenal depths that the team, or particularly the drivers, have plumbed this season. And yes, they go, thank you, God, I think are the words there for Timo Glock.
Señor Don Víctor Rambla Montplet.
So the German national anthem rings out for our race winner and for our champion, Timo Glock. Closest to camera, the diminutive Javi Villa, and on the right, Andy Suchek. So 2 Spanish drivers in the top 3, 3 in the top 4. Only Glock, as on the grid, ruining the all-Spanish top 3, and he really doesn't care too much for that either. There's a trophy. It's only a race winner's trophy, but there is a trophy that will be very special in years to come. He'll see that as the final crowning glory on the end of at times very difficult season. A Hollywood scriptwriter would have had most of the twists and turns of this year's GP2 series thrown back as just being so far-fetched only Sylvester Stallone would possibly sign up for them. It's really been quite bizarre, hasn't it?
It has, and it's been very exciting for the viewer and for us to watch. Let's hope next year can throw up something equally as good.
Absolutely right. So as the GP2 season comes to a close here in Valencia, just one formality remains for Timo Glock, is to beat the others to the champagne. He doesn't, he decides to share it with the team, and why not? They've been so much a part of the campaign this year. Whatever has been thrown at them, they have come back resiliently. Next race, whether it's the next day or a week or 2 later, they have again produced the goods, got right to the front of the grid every time, and produced the car for their man to win races, and most importantly, to seal the title for them. So that's it for 2007 then. We're already looking forward to the Asia Series to see what that throws up in terms of new names perhaps to conjure with for GP2, and to the brand new car and 2008, well, brand new, the development phase 2 car for 2008. So thank you for being with us. Thank you for enjoying the races with us. From Gareth Rees and from me, Martin Haven, goodbye.